Hello and welcome to Zebadextra v Phebo.
Yes.
Guest starring v Phebo.
Thank you, VW.
VW? I'm VW now?
Thank you, WC Fields.
WC Fields. Yeah. Alright, so on this episode we're going to do a movie. The movie that Phoebe picked was called Murder Mystery.
Have you guys figured out by now yet that I like mysteries?
Murders.
Yes. I don't really like murders, but I like mysteries.
She loves murders.
So where did we watch this?
On her couch.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
It just came out on.
You can watch it from my couch.
But we're filming this the day after we watched it, but it should still be on Netflix. I mean, it'll be on Netflix for a long time.
I don't know. I don't do the programming for Netflix.
By the time you guys watch this, it'll have been a couple weeks, but still relatively new. Yeah. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, Tim's first going to tell you a brief summary, no spoilers. What the heck is this movie about?
It's about the murder mystery. So basically, this is the follow-on to the first movie, Murder Mystery 1.
Which was also on Netflix.
It was also on Netflix. It also starred Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler.
I think it came out like pre-COVID, before.
Why did I want to say Zuckerberg? Adam Zuckerberg.
Because it actually stars Adam Zuckerberg. Good job finding him out.
Is he in it?
I don't know who that is. Mark Zuckerberg. Oh,
no, I was thinking about the other guy that I think looks like Adam Sandler.
Don't know.
What's the guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Andy Samberg?
Yeah.
You think he looks like Adam Sandler?
I get the two mixed up, name-wise.
Okay.
Name-wise.
Okay.
Cool. So, this movie is about a murder that happens and the mystery that's involved with it.
It's barely about a murder. It's
what
about
are you talking about?
It's about a kidnapping.
There's literally a murder at the very beginning.
There is?
Yes.
The very beginning of this movie.
The elephant scene.
That's not the beginning of this movie.
That's literally like the opening of the party. There is a murder. There's a kidnapping, there's a ransom, and then there's kind of the slapstick comedy that goes along with the murder mystery.
And another one of the nice things about this is there's a lot of international here and there, which the first movie had too. So you get to see a lot of beautiful places. They're going around to different locations.
And what is the name of that place that we went to in Hawaii? That
something ranch.
Yeah, there's a ranch, and you can go on this food tasting tour.
Yeah. And
you can actually go to right where they
No, in Oahu.
Right where they filmed the movie.
Hold on, was it Oahu?
Oahu.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when the movie opens, not quite at the very beginning, but pretty close to the beginning, that whole scene where they're being intercepted off the boat, Tim and I have been there. We have pictures of us standing right there because when we were there, they were like, "Oh, do you like Adam Sandler? They just finished filming a movie here." Yeah, they
just finished filming it. And that was last January, and it just came out. So that's cool.
Yeah,
that
was fun.
At least for us.
They were supposed to be in Bali, something like that. That's what the guy told us at the ranch, but I don't think it was Bali. It was his private island.
Yeah, it was a private island.
Yeah. So, but they film a lot of stuff in Hawaii, like any tropical thing. Okay, so if you want to watch Jennifer Aniston, Adam Sandler, as a married couple, being private detectives, doing a lot of expensive, fun, international shenanigans, then this is the show for you.
Yeah, if you're into watching dicks, this is it.
What?
That's what they call private eyes.
Oh, babe.
What?
Okay, so did you hate this movie? Was it meh? Like it or love it?
I'm gonna have to go with, like, if love is 100 and like is 80, I'm probably at about an 83 on this.
Okay, I would say I'm around the same as you. I'm definitely between a like and a love.
Yeah.
It was great fun. I recommend it to everybody. Do I have to, like, is this on my top 10 list of movies? No.
Probably not.
But we were looking forward to it for a while, especially because
Yeah.
we went on that vacation. I don't think it let us down. It was fun.
It did not. It's a fun movie.
They keep you guessing. We were like, oh, is it this person? And then we'd be like, oh, is it this person?
Well, technically, I did nail the person right off the bat.
You did?
I did.
Oh,
I did.
You didn't tell me. Probably because you didn't want to spoil it.
I didn't want to spoil it for you, and I was like, that is just too obvious.
Well, because they do the very Agatha Christie thing where they put forth a good case for each of the characters, the main characters.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're looking for a fun, night at home, grab some popcorn, get you some goobers, and sit down with the significant other.
I feel like it didn't even have as much raunchy Adam Sandler humor as some, so maybe it's even more kid-friendly than, like, Just Go With It is the other one that features them that we like a lot.
I mean, there isn't any blood or gore or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good fun for the whole family.
Yeah.
All right.
Okie dokie.
Now we're going to the spoiler section.
Yes, spoilers.
So, if you don't want this spoiled, you might want to pause.
Yeah, just hit pause.
Run to Netflix, watch it, come on back, tell us what you thought.
Yeah.
Okay? So, the couple is Audrey and Nick Spitz. And they are, after the first movie, they become private eyes.
Which, if you didn't watch the first movie, you might want to watch it before this one, but you don't have to.
You don't have to. It's pretty standalone.
But it's the same kind of thing. They witness a murder. They try to kind of help solve it. And that one, they're more just like scrambling to get out of trouble, right?
Yeah, but in that one, I think everybody dies.
Well, not everybody, because the main guy, the majority of them from that one.
The majority of them on that one die. So anyhow, they become private eyes. Things are not going well. They're married. They work together. There's a bit of tension there from that, and
they're also just like not great private eyes, right?
They're not very good at it. In fact, one of the first things that you see is a case where the wife hires them to follow the husband.
Yeah.
And because she thinks he's cheating, and they come back and tell her that he is cheating. And it turns out that he's been planning a secret anniversary party for her.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Aniston's like, okay, well, we'll
go ahead and pay this bill and we'll take off.
Yeah, go ahead and pay this bill. And they run out of the house because the woman grabs a crossbow.
Yeah.
And shoots at them
with a crossbow. Yeah. Like, okay.
So you can tell right off the bat.
What kind of movie this is?
Things are not going well. So they're at home. Audrey's wanting Nick, Adam Sandler, to start studying for his private investigator's exam. She has a book that was written by Colin Norris, I believe his name was. And she's like, you need to read this book and study it because he's also the one who created the test for the private eye exam.
Okay.
And he's just like, I don't want to do it.
He's like, I've read a chapter of that. That guy's an idiot.
It's kind of like me when you give me a book to read, and I'm like, but he does it, right?
But on this one, he's like, no, I'm not reading it.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
And she's like, we would make more money if we were both...
certified.
So she's certified then?
I guess she is, or she's studying to become certified. But she's like, we want more upscale clients, and so we need to be certified to get that.
Have you ever hired a private detective?
Yeah.
Do you check to see if they're certified first?
Well, I would make sure that they were, yes.
Would you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Why did you hire a private detective?
Don't worry, but you checked out.
Okay.
Anyhow, so they're having an argument about it, and he's like, no, it's all about marketing. If you want bigger and better clientele, you got to market. And she's like, what? Do you mean like your dental floss business cards? And they cut to like this image, and it's like these business cards with dental floss attached. And then they get a phone call from the Maharaj.
Yeah, Maharaja. Their friend, the Maharaja.
Yeah. Vikram.
Vikram, yes.
Vikram.
Great name.
And he has
Stolen
found...
from Friends. Rachel probably suggested it.
Really?
Yeah, Ross pretends to be this guy named Vikram.
Really?
Yeah, that's his accent on the show, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I did not know that. See, that's a joke I didn't catch. So, so the Maharaj has found a woman to be his wife.
Claudette.
Claudette. She is French, like the fry. So he's getting married, and he's like, "Hey, I want you guys at my wedding.
Yeah.
All
expenses paid.
All expenses paid. Come on out."
Yeah.
You know. So they get there, and you get to see the Maharaj, Vikram. You get to see his fiance, and it's kind of funny because like they get off the plane or the helicopter, and in the helicopter, the pilot keeps calling them the shits. Remember?
Because their last name is Spitz.
They're the Spitz, and he keeps calling them the shits. So they get off the helicopter, and they're walking up the I don't even know what it's called.
The dock?
The dock, yes, the dock. So they're walking up the dock. The Maharaji, Vikram, meets them with his fiance, and the fiance kisses Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah. 4 times.
4 times. So 2 times on each cheek. And then she goes over, they start kissing Nick, and they get into 6 kisses.
Yeah, she just keeps going.
And Jennifer Aniston's like, okay, that's enough. And so they stop. And that's when we meet Colonel. He is from the first movie. In this movie, he's lost an arm.
He had lost a hand in the last one.
Yes, he had lost his hand. And then at some point between the 2 movies, he had lost his whole arm.
He took a bullet for Vikram and lost his arm.
Yeah.
He was Vikram's bodyguard.
He was Vikram's bodyguard. And Vikram has a new head bodyguard now since Colonel only has 1 arm. They go into their hotel room. It's an amazing room, people. Like literally the one wall was like completely gone, and it looks out over the rainforest, and you can see the mountain and volcano in the background.
Right looking at the water.
Yeah, there's water in an infinity pool, and it's just an amazing room. And they turn around, they look at the bed, and the bed is actually like 2 king-size beds put together. It's huge. I mean, room to play.
He thinks that the remote is for the TV, but it actually opens the
the entire ceiling, the roof retracts so they can have it all open sky.
And then their room has gifts for them, so it has like vintage Air Jordans, and jewelry,
and new iPods, iPhones.
Yeah, definitely not iPods.
iPods, oh my goodness.
Vintage iPods.
And so like they're excited, and they're like, "What did we give out at our wedding?" And they were like, "Flip-flops."
An Advil.
Yeah. And so, so it opens up. It's really beautiful. There's a thing with cheese. They have like this big hunk of cheese.
There's this beautiful cheese plate, and it has this like best tasting cheese they've ever had in their lives.
Nick is just like in love with this cheese.
Yeah.
So they get dressed in the outfits that the Maharaj has provided for them.
Well, actually, the Maharaja gave them closets full of outfits.
Yes. But they get dressed in this outfit, and I had to write this down because I was told it was life or death.
What?
My life or death, if I didn't write it down, so she could remind you all that she loved Jennifer Aniston's white outfit. It was kind of off-white, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't white like
ivory.
Yours.
It was ivory, and he had a matching kind of tunic outfit.
Yeah, it was.
Her outfit was just really pretty.
It was very pretty. They go out, and they're at the actual
wedding reception. They haven't got married yet, right?
Right. Well,
we didn't see them say "I do."
Right. They don't ever say "I do" in this movie.
So they didn't get married yet.
No, they by the end of the movie they haven't gotten married.
So it's just like a party.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be their wedding, I think.
Okay. We just gets cut off.
Yeah, it gets cut off. No, it must not be the wedding itself. I think it's just a wedding reception, like you know how the night before a wedding you have like the party, the dinner party.
Yeah, like with all of the
family. Yeah. So I think that's what it was. And at this party, you get to meet Francesco Perez.
Yeah.
Who is a former soccer player and a friend of Vikram's.
And he got kicked out from soccer for what?
So, what was
he
it?
He headbutted somebody and like sent him to the hospital or something. And
he got kicked out of soccer. So now he's his claim to fame now is he tells Jennifer Aniston that he has slept with, was it 10,000?
Over 10,000 women.
10,000 women. And
none of them are as ravishing as you.
Yeah, and the whole way through this movie, every time he sees her, he's just like all over her, and she's just like, "Ooh, get away from me!" Out.
But he's on Vikram's board or something.
Yes, he's on. He's like the chairman of the board or something. You meet Syra, and that is Vic's sister.
Mm-hmm. And she's annoyed with everybody. She hates people. She's like
kind of a loner.
This party.
Nick at this point.
Who else do we meet? We also meet the Countess.
Well, I was going to go in order.
Oh, sorry.
So now Nick is walking around smoking his huge hookah, right? And just carrying it with him and smoking it, and it was kind of funny. Then we meet Seku, who was Vic's previous fiance. And it was also Claudette's roommate at college.
And is now the
maid of honor. Yeah, so it's like really convoluted there.
Yeah.
They're doing a dance party. And it was fun.
They start like a performative dance. Like I've been to some weddings where they have these performances planned out leading up to the ceremony or like right after the ceremony.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing.
Yeah. And as they're dancing, an elephant starts to come in from the side. Mm-hmm. But as you see the elephant come in, there's also somebody dressed in a green robe that comes shooting in the door and off to the side, and then you don't see them anymore. Mm-hmm. As the elephant's coming in, you see whoever's on top of it, and you think it's the Maharaj. Mm-hmm. But it turns out that it's his bodyguard, his new bodyguard, and this new bodyguard has been stabbed in the back with a cheese knife.
Well, yeah, we don't know it's a cheese knife, but...
Well, you definitely
I didn't notice it. I didn't notice
it. See, I did, because when he was done with the cheese in his room, they, like, showed the knife.
Yeah.
And then when they did the murder, they show the knife in his back. Nick goes outside, and he's looking around and trying to track people. And he follows these tracks down to the dock.
Audrey's inside taking pictures of everything.
Yeah, she's taking pictures of like everything she thinks is important, like the cheese knife. She finds a green robe that was thrown into a fire. You cut back to Nick, and he's down at the dock, and the Maharaj is getting kidnapped. And so somebody starts shooting like a machine gun at him.
They're throwing him into a boat.
Yeah, they're throwing Maharaj into a boat, and they're shooting at Nick. And then they get away. Then you find out that they go back into their room, and you see that the cheese knife is missing. This is when like it starts getting a little goofy. So Francesco comes into their room.
So they barricade their door.
They barricade it. They put a bunch of crap in front of their door.
And Francesco goes banging on the door. I need to come in and tell you something.
And they go through this whole thing. What if he's the killer? Well, why would he knock? And so all of this, and so finally,
right before this, they take some Advil. They both have a headache.
Yes.
And I think that's like almost all they get accomplished before they get bombarded with people.
Yeah. And so the Francesco comes into the room. So they've moved all the stuff. He comes in. They put all the stuff back, and then he tells them that he doesn't think Claudette had done it because she has like this really brutal ironclad prenup.
So she didn't have a motive.
So she wouldn't have a motive unless he lived. Then Claudette shows up, so she's banging on the door. They stash him in a closet, and then they move all the stuff, let Claudette in, move all the stuff back in front of the door.
She says, "I'm suspicious of Francisco."
Yeah, and she's like, Francisco has a dark secret.
Yeah.
And in his dark secret, do they tell it there?
I don't remember it.
It's he has like 20,000
kids. Oh, he has like so many kids, so he needs the money.
Yeah, he's got like all these kids. And in Jennifer Aniston sees that Claudette actually has a gun.
Has a gun, yeah, in the back waistband.
Yeah, and so they're kind of panicking. And then Cyrus shows up, so she's knocking at the door now. So they move everything out of the way. They stash Claudette behind a palm tree or something. Yeah. It's kind of silly. And so Syra comes in. They move everything back in front of the door.
I'm suspicious of Claudette. And Claudette aims her gun right at her.
Yeah, Claudette's like aiming a gun right at her as she's talking. Then Countess Seku, the previous fiance, shows up.
So they stash Syra.
So they stash Syra. They pull everything out. She comes in. They put everything back.
And she's like, I think it's Syra.
Yeah, and then the colonel shows up
with guns blazing.
Yes, and he's got all these guns with all these the cops there, and so everybody kind of comes out of hiding. They realize everybody was in the room. Audrey passes out on the bed. Her upper torso's on the bed, and her legs are off the bed.
Yeah,
it's just a funny looking pose.
So then he starts to not feel great. He's like, "Oh, you're sleepy? I'm sleepy too."
And he just like boom. Falls down.
Yeah.
He wakes up in the morning, and one of the funny things is when they first got to their room, there was literally a picture of them as they got off the helicopter,
framed in their
room, and then when he wakes up from his little coma, drug-induced coma, he wakes up and there's a picture of him right there in his coma.
Like a picture of him on his stomach. So
yeah, just like
an overhead picture of him.
Yeah, they just took an overhead picture of him laying there like a chalk outline.
Like who the heck did that?
I know, right? And then so they go out to try and help. And
well, at first she's like, somebody roofied us. Somebody roofied us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they go out and they're gonna try and help with the investigation.
Yeah. So they're like, we're private investigators, guys. Let us help you.
Yeah, let us help you. And
the colonel. Isn't it the colonel? He's like, don't worry, we've got it covered.
Oh, does he say that?
Somebody says that.
And then out of the water, like these. It's like a Navy SEAL kind of thing. Connor Miller, the private eye instructor.
Is he a British dude? I can't remember if he has an accent in this movie.
I think he... I don't know that he did.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he had an accent, but it wasn't...
he was. They said he's MI6.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
That was his credential.
And so he comes in and he's like, don't worry, we'll solve this mystery. And they're like, oh, well, we'll help because, you know, we're also private investigators. And he's like, oh, really? And he just, like, lays into them. He's like, you're horrible at this, and blah, 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 and all this stuff.
And he says, who would be the killer? Oh, probably these two random people that came to this wedding.
And the last time they were here, everybody died, and they got famous for it, and now they're... Right? So, he thinks that they've done it. The kidnappers tell them that they're only going to talk to the guy they shot at, which was Nick.
So, Claudette gets a phone call? From the kidnappers?
So, you know, that's what's funny. I don't know. Because it didn't say. They just came back out and were like, the kidnappers are only going to talk to Nick.
Okay.
And so that's how Nick and Audrey get the in. And so when they go in, then they call.
Okay.
The kidnappers call. And they're like, okay, we're going to trace this. but we need you to keep him on the line for 45 seconds. And Nick's like, oh, don't worry. I was part of the police force. I can do that. Mm-hmm. And so he's like asking them silly questions. And the guy's like, look, you bring us $50 million. And Francesco in the background is like, $50 million? Yeah. And they're like, click. They just hang up on him. Oh. And so they didn't get the trace. And they call right back. And they're like, it's gone up to 60 million. And they were like, okay, so Nick keeps them talking. And he's just like, where were they supposed to go? Arc de Triomphe.
Oh, so the kidnapper is using a voice modifier, which is hard to understand. Yeah. But Nick pretends that he's impossible to understand. So they keep saying the Arc de Triomphe or something like that. I'm terrible at pronouncing. And Nick's like, the Arch of just so you know, you sound like blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I didn't figure out for a little bit that he was purposely being an idiot.
Yes, he was trying to. I was like,
why can't he understand that that's what he's saying?
He was trying to get them to stay on there for a while longer. And finally, they're like, you know what? It's now 70 million. And hangs up. And Francesco's in the back, and he's like, I died.
Yeah.
But what?
They were able to trace it, because he kept them on the phone.
They were able to trace it. So they're all going to Paris now. To the Arc de Triomphe.
So Connor Miller is like, oh, by the way, the MI6 guy wrote the book that Audrey's like.
Yeah.
Did you already say that?
Well, I mentioned earlier that Connor Miller had done that.
Sorry. So that's when I finally made that connection right there.
Oh, gotcha.
And he's like, okay, we have to all go to France. And I'm like, why is he taking all of them? That's dumb.
So I did not make that connection either. I'm like, why would you take all of them?
Yeah.
That's just, I mean, you would need Nick.
Claudette. Do you need Claudette?
No, you need Nick and 70 million in cash. Yeah. That's all you need. Anyhow.
Anyway, they all went
together. They all go. So Nick has the cash. It's in a steel suitcase.
So he's ready for the drop?
Yeah, he's ready for the drop. Connor goes to drop Audrey and Nick off, and he says, okay, who gets the gun? And Nick's like, you should give that to me, because they call me Nicky Guns on the force. Yeah. And the whole time Audrey's like, just give it to me.
She's like, he never hits his target.
He can't hit anything. Just give it to me. So she ends up with it. And they get a phone call, and they're like, oh, before they get out of the car, he's like, remember my three rules.
The 3 rules of hostage negotiation.
Yeah. And so she goes through the 3 rules in his book, and one was...
I forget, but the third one is don't go with them to another location.
To another location. Make sure you verify that the hostage is alive and don't go with them anywhere. And so they go up, they're walking along the street, and he gets a phone call, so Nick answers the phone, and they're like, go over to this van. And he's like, which van? He looks around, and there's like a couple of different vans on the street corners. And he's like, that one? And they're like, stop pointing. No pointing. And so they go over to the van, and they're standing there, and they knock on the van door, and they open it, and there's a guy in there with a gun.
And a mask.
And he's like, get in the van.
Get in the van.
And they're like, no.
That's rule number 3. We're not getting
getting in the van. And he's like, okay, well, I will shoot you each in the stomach.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we'll get in the van.
Yeah.
So they get in the van, and the guy that was going to shoot them is like, all right, give me the money. And they're like, well, we got to verify that he's alive. And he's like, you know what? Just give us the money, and then you'll get it. And so one of the gifts that they got were these sexy handcuffs with the pink fur. And so Nick takes them out and locks it on his wrist, and then locks himself to the case. And he's like, there, now I go wherever the money goes. And the guy's like, okay, well, chop off his hand.
Mm-hmm.
So the other guy pulls out this hatchet, and then a fight ensues. And Audrey ends up shooting the first guy.
Well, yeah, for a while they're tossing, and Adam Sandler's like, get your gun out.
Yeah,
like,
get the gun out. Help me.
Yeah.
And so she does, and she shoots that guy. And then Adam Sandler's fighting with the guy with the hatchet. The hatchet gets knocked out of his hands. I forget how it happens.
Audrey picks up the hatchet.
Audrey picks up the hatchet.
And then they put on the brakes.
And they put on the brakes, and it flies out of her hand and hits the driver, boom, right in the skull and kills him. And so
now he's laying on the wheel with his foot on the pedal.
He's laying on the wheel. His foot's on the gas. So they're tearing through town with this dead guy driving. And so now she's like bent over the driver's seat, and she's steering with his head. And like to get people out of the way, she's like picking his head up and banging it on the horn.
Oh man!
And the whole time, Nick is in the back fighting with the third guy. How does the third guy end? Do you remember?
Mm-mm.
I do remember it was funny because she's like, I already killed one guy. I'm a murderer. I don't want to be a mass murderer.
Yeah.
And he's like, you just killed a guy with an axe. You're also an axe murderer.
I missed that part.
Yeah.
Oh, so Nick is leaning out the window, and the guy's like holding on to him.
Oh, yeah.
And Nick leans up to like hear her, and the other guy gets taken out by a pole.
A pole, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so Nick gets back in the van. Then the van crashes into this
the bistro or something.
Cafe or something. And so like they get out and they're like, is everybody okay? Is everybody okay? And then on the TV in the cafe, they're like, oh, these
wanted criminals.
And they showed Nick and Audrey, and they're like, they killed these people, or this guy, and they're wanted for murder. And she's like, I would never kill anybody. And as she does that, the guy with the axe in the back of his head, like, falls out the window.
Yeah.
So at this point, Connor shows up at the cafe.
Okay.
He takes the case so that they won't be chased anymore.
Yeah, he's like, good job, guys. I'll take it from here.
I'll take it from here. He takes the case, goes and gets in his car, and they're like, well, wait.
Yeah, Audrey's like, maybe it's him.
Maybe it's him. Maybe he's the one who did it, and we just gave him $70 million in cash.
Right after she says that.
They walk to the door, and they look out, and the car goes...
Old man explodes.
Explodes. And somebody on a motorcycle comes riding in, stops right by the car, walks through the flames, reaches in, pulls the case out.
And starts walking away.
Starts walking to get back on his bike, and a garbage truck hits him.
Yeah.
And then somebody gets out of the garbage truck, grabs the case, and takes off.
Yeah.
Well, they get the license plate off the truck.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they contact this detective.
They see him on the TV, and they're like, oh, yeah. They're like, oh, that's the detective we know from the last one.
Yeah. So they track him down at the opera. They go in, and they convince him, because he's gonna arrest them.
Yeah, he's like, you're arrested, and they say, well, what if we tie you up and you tell them that we got the better of you, so you don't get in trouble?
On you. Yeah.
Because he's their friend from the last movie.
Yeah, and so he's like, okay, and then he pulls out. Did he? Yeah, he pulled out his phone.
She says, I need you to track this, and he's like, okay, use this app on my phone.
Yeah, and so they look it up, and they tie him up in the opera box, and they find out where this garbage truck went.
Yeah.
So they take his car, which is like
this rickety bus kind of thing.
Well, no, it was like what is that little smart car?
Oh, is that what it is?
It only holds like 2 people.
It literally looked like a cargo airplane inside.
It's tiny. It's one of those really, really tiny cars. So they get in that, and they go to where this garbage truck had stopped, and it's like this chateau, and
oh yeah,
and it has like a moat.
Yeah.
And Nick is like, I can jump that. I can jump that. And he's like, it's only like 3 meters. I can jump that. I used to do long jump in high school, and I can do that. And she's like, you really can't. And he walks a little closer, like he's going to jump over it. And he's like, yeah, I think that's a little more than 3 meters. I don't think I can. How about you try it? And she's like, you want me to jump the moat? and somebody comes up behind him and has a gun.
And
was it
the Countess?
Was it the Countess or was it her sidekick?
Her and her sidekick are always together.
Yeah, and her sidekick
just repeats everything she says.
And laughs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
they have him at gunpoint and they're like, come with us.
Yeah, so they go into the chateau. They get tied up. She explains that she stole the money, but it wasn't her that killed or kidnapped.
She just was like, oh, these two idiots have a whole bunch of money. I'm going to go take it.
I'm just going to go ahead and take it.
And so then, was it Nick or Audrey that says, two partnership kidnappers or whatever never works out. Yeah, one person always sabotages.
Yeah, Nick is like, one of them always betrays the other.
Does the double cross.
Yeah. And so the Countess pulls out a gun and she aims it at Nick and then she moves it over and shoots her sidekick.
Yeah.
And he was like, see, I told you. And
she's like, bye. Hopefully the gases will get you, or the smoke will get you before the fire does.
Yeah, so she sets fire to the chateau.
Mm-hmm. She tips over a candle.
And after she does that, then her little partner raises up and shoots her.
Mm-hmm.
So now...
And she goes, triple cross.
And dies.
Yeah.
And then, so they're laying there, the chateau's on fire. And Nick remembers, oh wait, I have one of those dental floss business cards in my back pocket. It has a little razor,
a little cut thing to cut the
floss. And so they get that. They cut the bonds, and
they're looking for a way out. And Audrey's standing there in a faux fur coat, and her coat catches on fire.
It's on fire.
And he's like, no! So he drops the case, right?
No, he still has the case.
And he chases her and runs her out the window.
Yeah, they crash out this beautiful window.
Akin to Dungeons and Dragons with Jonathan, where they jump and crash out the window.
Yes, quite.
And they fall into the moat.
They fall into the moat, and they get out of the moat, and they go to not yet. They get in the other car, the detective's car, and it won't start.
Oh, okay.
And they look in the mirror, and there's a Lambo in the mirror, and they're like, yeah. So if you watch the last movie, they did the same thing.
Yeah.
Was it a Ferrari in that one or a Lambo?
Remember.
It doesn't matter. It was one of those two high-end cars, and so they go racing towards it. In the previous movie, Nick gets in on the
driver's side for Americans.
But it was a European car,
mate.
So it had the steering wheel on the right, and so Audrey got to drive it. This time he's like, okay,
this is mine this time.
I got it this time. So he hops in the passenger side, and the steering wheel's on the right or on the other side. And so he's just like, you know what, whatever. I guess I'm not expected to drive.
Yeah. He was like, no.
All right, and so
where do they drive to?
They tell everybody to meet them at the Jules Verne.
Oh yeah, they call somebody. They call Claudette, and she's with everybody.
Yeah, and it tells them to meet her.
Oh no, the police officer that's there, and he's talking to all the people, and he's like, okay guys, so. Are any of you wondering where Audrey and Nick are? Well, I have them on the phone. And she says, meet us all at the Jules Verne restaurant or something.
Yeah, and they're like, the what? And it's the...
Claudette pronounces it in French.
Le Jules Verne.
Yeah.
And so...
It's like part of the
It's part
Eiffel Tower.
It's the restaurant in the Eiffel Tower. So Nick and Audrey get there, and they go in, and the only people there are the murder suspects. And they're like, where is everybody else? And they were like, oh, we rented the whole thing out.
Yeah.
So that there wouldn't be any public there.
And the reason
she's like, well, don't you understand the reason for having public meeting on this?
Yeah. And the reason why she wants them all there is this whole time she's been like, one of you is the murderer, or one of you is the kidnapper.
Yes. So they're all there. and the elevator dings. The Maharaj steps out, so Vikram steps out.
But he doesn't look great.
He looks a bit nervous, and he has a bomb suit on.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, so you just got to put the money in the elevator and send it to the top floor before this explodes.
Yeah.
And you can see it has like a minute on the timer, and it's just counting down. And Nick's like, you know what? No.
Mm-hmm.
No. They're not going to kill everybody until they get the money. And everybody's like, Nick, just give them the money. Just give them the money. He's like, no, don't think so. And the timer counts down to 0 and does not blow up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, see, told you. Connor Miller zip lines down, or rappels down to the window they're at and comes in. They realize that he
was the
kidnapper, and he's behind it.
So they're like, what? How did you escape?
Yeah, and so he's like, oh, well, I climbed into this
indestructible chamber.
Titanium box in my back seat.
Yeah.
And my thought was, okay, if you were going to do that to blow it up, why would you not take the cash in with you?
Really dumb. You're right, because the cash would have got destroyed.
Yeah.
Wait, why didn't they? Oh, it must have been in a titanium.
It was in I guess a self,
yeah.
I don't know. The car got blown up, so why didn't the cash?
Well, I guess he wanted them to recover the cash. If they couldn't find it, then they would have been like, where's the cash?
Yeah, but if he was the one stealing it, why?
I don't know.
Yeah. It's a loophole. So you find out Connor Miller was the bad guy.
Now he's got them all at gunpoint.
Now he's got them all at gunpoint.
Give me the money.
And a fight scene ensues.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how they all got to the top floor?
Well, all of a sudden the elevator opens and there's this lady and she's got a rose and she's like, "Are you Gerald or whatever?" Me and Gerald said we were going to meet each other 20 years in the future.
Yeah, we met here.
So
like
this random lady shows up.
And
I don't know how they get on the top floor though.
Audrey jumps on his back.
Because he's walking out the window. He's got his zipliney thing again, and she jumps on him. Because he's got the cash. The cash.
And so, and he also has a hand timer.
For the bomb.
Oh. To turn the bomb on and off.
Okay.
And so he's going up, and she's hanging on to him. And then Nick decides to go up to fight too.
Well, they think he's going to go up, but he actually sends up like a chair that says like good luck or something on it.
Yeah, I don't remember what it said. I couldn't see it. But I guess what happened was maybe he got off the floor below and sent that up because he does come around the corner.
Yeah, but I forget what that's for.
Well, because
is it just distracted?
Yeah, it was just a distraction because they were like, "Oh, when the door opens, whoever's in there, we're just gonna kill."
Okay.
And so the door opens, and they the three goons all are firing into it.
Okay.
And there's the chair. Then this fight scene gets a little bit crazy. Because Nick comes around the corner, and he's got the gun.
Well, first he jumps on the three goons from above.
Yes. Yeah. He jumps on them. He drops the gun, and then jumps on them, and he knocks two of them out, and the third one, Francesco, comes up and headbutts him. Yeah. And so all three of the goons are knocked out. Now there's only the main bad guy. So Nick picks up the gun, and Francesco is like, "Let's go save that beauty," right? And Nick's like, I got this. I got this. So Nick goes up, and he's like,
shoots how many rounds straight at the guy?
He's like he shoots like 6 or 8 rounds at this guy.
Misses
every one, and he goes, "Did I hit anything?" And they were like, "You hit the timer." And he's like, "Good, that's what I was aiming for."
Yeah.
But,
so it turned off the bomb, right?
Yeah, but they keep turning it on and off, though. While that's happening, the girl that had shown up in the elevator, she's helping
Delacroix. Because the cop got
Was it Shaw? Yeah,
I think so.
I think he did.
And he's like, "Get the bullets out of my gun, out of my pocket," or something like that. No, can you get my vape out of my pocket?
Yeah, and she's like, I don't really know that this is a good idea in your condition, and so.
And then they start smoking together.
And.
Or vaping together.
Yeah, and so one of the things from the previous movie, there was a scene where he blows a smoke ring.
Oh yeah.
Well, in this one, they're vaping together, and she blows a smoke ring, and he blows an oblong object through it.
Yeah.
You know?
Really silly.
Really silly. So now we go back upstairs.
In the middle of all the fighting.
Yeah, in the middle of all the fighting, these two are just flirting like crazy. He knocks Audrey off.
So she goes up and down and up and down. But then she gets off up at the top, right?
No. She gets off down towards the bottom.
Uh-huh.
And she sees that the gun that one of them had dropped earlier was down there. Mm-hmm. So she gets the gun, right? She's like walking out on these girders to get the gun. Nick is upstairs fighting with Connor. So she goes up, and she's up at the top, and Nick's like, now you're in trouble, because she never misses. And she shoots Nick.
Like in the shoulder.
Yeah, like in the arm or something. And he's like, really? You pick now to miss?
Yeah.
And
then she shoots again.
And hits him again.
Yeah.
And so, it's really funny watching this part because, she keeps missing. And
yeah. So then she like throws the gun at him, right? Because it's empty.
Well, it's empty. So then she catches this idea, and she kind of clues Nick in through her code. And so Nick ties this rope onto the back of Connor. And
I thought that she did it.
No. Okay. She turns it on.
Okay.
She turns it on, and he gets like knocked over the railing.
Uh-huh.
And he drops. He's like, and it boom stops. But there's a helicopter gunship that has come up because he ordered it to go kill everybody that was at the Les Jules Verne restaurant. And so it's like coming up, and it's like level, and the gun is coming out, and it's starting to spin up, a Gatling gun. And then the rope snaps and drops Connor Miller into the helicopter blades, and then the helicopter bounces off the
and they don't show any gore or anything.
No. And then it bounces off the Eiffel Tower and explodes.
Mm-hmm.
And
into the water or something, right?
I don't remember where it didn't. I don't think it showed where it landed. But so now the bad guys are gone.
So they're back in the restaurant, and they're talking.
You're right.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Audrey notices
that Syra's henna tattoo was smeared, and she's like, something just isn't right. Something isn't right.
Yeah. Something's
not making sense. And so she goes, Syra, what happened to your arm? And she's like, oh, it's smeared this evening.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's just not right. That's just not right. And she's like,
henna sets
right immediately.
Yeah.
Or once it sets, you can't smear it. If there's one thing I know, it's dyes.
Because she was a hairdresser.
And then she puts it together that what she saw on the green cloak, the mysterious hooded figure wore, wasn't blood, it was ink. Mm-hmm. Because that was right after Syra was getting a henna tattoo at the party.
Yeah. And
so she put that together, and she's like, you are the murderer. Or you're the kidnapper.
Yeah.
And
the co-kidnapper, I guess. They didn't ever explain that she was working with Connor.
Yeah.
So then the police officer takes her away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, Audrey's like, sorry that it was your sister. And he was like, that's okay. She was a jerk, and I didn't like her.
Yeah. So then their plan was after they did the whole wedding, they were gonna go to the lock bridge and romantically lock their names onto the lock bridge. So the next scene, they're there.
Yes, they're at the bridge.
And they're like, okay, well that's it. We'll go home now.
Yeah, and the helicopter pilot shows up on a bike, and he's got this really large bag,
like a luggage looking bag.
Yeah, like a luggage looking bag, and he hands it to them, and they're like, "What is this?" And then Vikram calls, and he's like, "Oh, hey, just wanted to give you guys a honeymoon. There's $10 million in the bag." And if you run out of money, just sell the bag. It's made out of dinosaur leather. So it's worth $3 million.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Let's go have our honeymoon.
Yeah.
And so he also told them that the helicopter was theirs.
Oh.
They could fly anywhere they want with it.
Okay.
And so they're in the helicopter, they're drinking champagne, and the pilot turns around, and remember, anytime he's there, he's been calling them the shits. And he turns around, and with no accent whatsoever, he's like, all right, I want the bag.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? And what happened to the accent? And he's like, oh, I left it in Jersey or something like that. And so they give him the bag, and he jumps out of the helicopter, and they both are like, jumping forward to get the controls on the helicopter. Yeah. And that's where the movie ends.
The end.
The end.
Great summary, hun.
Thanks, babe.
What was your favorite part?
My favorite part was sharing the movie with you.
Oh, thank you.
Actually, my favorite part was one, knowing I had been in the exact spot
that was really
that was shot.
Yeah.
And two was that hotel room.
Me too.
Like, if I could book this hotel room, I would go back.
It was like orgasmic watching them walk through this room, thinking, imagine staying here.
I know.
Yeah, that part was really good.
I mean, there was actually enough room in that bed for us and all of our kids.
No, thank you. I really like the part where they jump out slow-mo through the window. That part was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was good too.
I mean, the whole thing was
I also enjoyed the Lamborghini thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because, he's just like all excited that he's going to get to drive.
You don't get to see him racing it too much or anything.
No,
right?
no. But he's like super excited he's going to get to drive, and he hops in the wrong side.
Yeah.
Every time.
That's funny. It would have been pretty funny to watch these movies back to back.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's probably more jokes pertaining to the first movie.
There is,
It's been a while since we watched it.
Yeah.
Like we said before, you don't have to watch the first one.
Oh, we did miss a part.
What?
Because the colonel gets shot. Syra tries to shoot.
Syra, yeah. She pulls out a gun.
Yeah.
And then the colonel jumps right in front of the bullet again.
And takes a shot in the other arm.
The other arm.
And now, they have to amputate that arm.
So when he's being wheeled away.
Vikram's like, well, I guess it's time we look into that bionic arm.
Yeah.
So that was good too.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I mean...
Would you watch another film by
from
these
this
people?
director? Yeah. I didn't look it up, but
it was probably Adam Sandler.
I don't think he's a director.
Adam Sandberg.
Adam Andy Sandberg.
Yes.
Fieldville,
Iowa.
All right. Well, yeah. I think that's a wrap.
All right. Sounds
Thanks
good.
Did you enjoy this movie? Did I finally pick one you like?
I did.
Yay!
I enjoyed it.
I already knew that he was open to watching this before I picked it.
Yeah. There's a lot of the ones that she watches that I'm like,
He's like, yeah, really that's cool. I'll just half watch, but not really. I get that.
Like all of those, like the Oriental Express that we.
The Orient Express?
Is that the new one?
No, Death on the Nile was the new one.
With that was the Perot one.
Both of those are Poirot, but the most recent one we watched was Death on the Nile. I think I made you go see that in the theater.
One of them you did. Yeah. I don't remember which one, but those were just like... They actually
start out this movie on the Orient Express, don't they?
They do. They start it with a picture of the Orient Express train. Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it was great. Good job, guys. It was funny and not too raunchy. And I like those two together. They're a funny pair.
They are. Yeah. I enjoy their movies. So
yeah.
All
right. Well, let us know in the comments below. I'm sure some of you have already seen this movie by now, and if you haven't yet, go watch and let us know what you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let us know if there's any films that you want us to review. Next up, you're going to be listening to us review John Wick 4.
4?
Tim asked me to watch this film. I will be leading the discussion. This is so action-packed. It's like almost nauseating the amount of action.
I honestly fell asleep.
No, you did not. I don't think he actually did. All right, so you can look forward to that on our next video next Tuesday. I will see you back then. I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you enjoyed this review, give the video a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our reviews.
Click the little bell down there for the notification for the next one.
Yeah. And we'll see you back next time.
All right. Have a great one, guys.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.